Welcome to Wisdom at the Well, where timeless truths meet today's culture. Each week, we gather at the well, a place of conversation, fellowship, and refreshment, to explore biblically grounded wisdom for the challenges we face as believers in Christ. Whether you're searching for deeper understanding, encouragement in your walk with Christ, or just a quiet moment to refocus on God's Word, you're welcome here. Join us and our guests, spiritual leaders, teachers, thinkers, and fellow believers, as we open Scripture and draw living water from the source that never runs dry, Jesus Christ. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Wisdom at the Well. This episode topic is on marriage. I am your host, Amanda Paul, and I would love to introduce you to our very special guest today. We have Wisdom at the Well co-host Jackie Taylor with us today. She is a police officer's wife, mom of twins, and someone who just loves having these conversations about faith and family and the Word. Thank you for being here, Jackie.
Thanks for having me.
And we have her husband, Casey, the police officer and dad of twins and fellow believer in Christ. Thanks for being here today, Casey.
Thanks.
And last but not least, we have my husband, Brock. He is father of 9, construction company owner, carpenter, master of all trades, and my partner. So we're happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So you guys know we like to start our episodes with an icebreaker. Today's is, who is someone that has had a big influence in your life? Past or present?
I'll say probably my grandma. She would pick us up, take us to church. She's still a big part of my life. I think my grandma would be my answer.
Good. Anybody else?
I guess I would put my dad. He came from a pretty rough childhood, but he made sure that me and my brothers never had that same sort of childhood, and he was just a great father.
That's awesome.
I would have to say my bosses that I've had, a few of them, look up to them, and then running the company now, knowing what it takes to the amount of work that's put into it.
Yeah, I put down authors, like different authors, like Sally Clarkson, Nancy Campbell, Debbie Pearl, Rosaria Butterfield. Different books that I've read, I feel like have influenced me a lot. Obviously, there's people, too. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ladies at church I look up to and kind of emulate. But I think I've done a lot of reading, so
yeah,
authors.
That's good.
All right, so moving on. We are doing this episode on marriage because it is one of the ones that people want to hear. You know, ones about the family seem to be really desired when we polled our audience. And so we thought it would be good to jump in and talk about marriage with our spouses. And it's a little interesting to ask these questions and pick each other's brains a little bit. So it's going to be raw, but we'll jump in. Just for fun, tell us about how you guys met and fell in love.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Fact check each other.
Yeah, right. So we met at Boathouse, and some drinking was involved. So Casey was a little bit of a different person that evening, and we exchanged phone numbers. And my first impression of him was he was really outgoing, he was really bold, and I thought he was a player because he was kind of hitting on the bartender. He thinks he wasn't, but I think he was. We still went out. And our first date, he was really quiet. I don't really remember where we went or what happened, but I remember I was living with my grandparents, and I came home, and she asked me about the date, and I said, I didn't like him. It's not going to go anywhere. He was too quiet. I don't know. It was like, it was weird. He was too quiet. And she said when she met my grandpa, she thought the same thing, and somebody told her to go out and give him 3 dates. And then she's like, so give him 3 dates. So I said, okay. And then after the 3 dates, I ended up really liking him.
Oh,
and then we
that's
kept dating.
great.
So.
That's so fun that it was at the Boathouse because that's where we went on our double date.
Yeah. So we tried to go back there, and The bartender doesn't work there anymore, but that
You made sure of that, huh?
no, it just his recollection is different than mine.
What's your version?
The fact that we did meet at the boathouse, but I wasn't hitting on the bartender. I don't know, maybe it was just a good night for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got her number, and then I think we went to a movie for our first official date. But I can't remember for sure.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I thought it went pretty well because she kept talking to me. But after, I think, the third or fourth date-ish, she likes the story. But I told my friend at the time that, I mean, he's still my friend, but told him at the time that I could see myself marrying her. So,
Aw,
Yeah.
love hearing that.
Yeah. I thought that was cute.
All right, your turn,
What about
Brock.
you guys? Yeah.
Let's see what Brock remembers.
I remember meeting at church. I was a sound guy, so a little creepy, but I could listen to her singing when she was singing and that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I believe our first date was at a wedding. And I remember, I don't know if you want to share the ice cream part.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I was so nervous that we went and got ice cream, and I just left, and she's like, "Are you gonna pay?"
I didn't have a purse or anything with at the wedding,
She
so
thought maybe, do I have to pay? I don't know who's to
it
pay.
was so awkward.
Yeah.
We both got in line and ordered, and then he just sat down and started eating, and I was the second one to say what flavor I wanted, and so they're looking at me like somebody's got to pay, and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't even have pockets. I
Yeah.
have nothing on this dress, because we had decided to leave the wedding. It was
Yeah.
kind of boring, and it was our first date. And what's really funny is I didn't know if we were on a date because he liked me and was interested, or if it was kind of like a pity date. Because I already had 2 kids, and I was at church, and I was a lot younger than him. And it was a really small church, so everybody was kind of like a family. And so he knew I was in school at the time for physical therapy, and he had walked into church one day with his neck kind of all kinked up. I don't know if that was fake. Oh, okay. And he was like, can you help me?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So we went down to the basement of the church, which was like the only meeting space they had. It wasn't like we were
Yeah.
going to the basement. But, and then this teenage boy who played drums there followed us to be our chaperone. And went downstairs, and I was working on his neck and trying to show him things to loosen it up and stuff. And I knew I had this wedding coming up that I had to go to, and I didn't have anyone to go with, and I was a little embarrassed to be going by myself at the age that I was, and given the circumstances around where it was that we were going. And so I was like, hey, do you want to pay me back for this free therapy? And he's like, what do you want? He probably thought I was wanting money. And I said, well, I have this wedding to go to. I need somebody to go with. Would you want to go with me? So I guess I shoot my shot first.
Yeah.
And he was like, sure. So the whole time we were there at the wedding, I didn't know if he was just doing me a solid as
Oh,
a
okay.
brother in Christ,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
being up, filling a space, or if he was actually into it. So yeah, well, I'm aware now.
9 kids later.
You're
Yeah.
right. So the next day, though, my favorite part is the next day at church, he came up to me and was very direct and just said, so are we pursuing something here?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to pussyfoot around. Are you interested in this going somewhere long term? Because that's what I want. And
Yeah.
I was like, yes, sure.
Yeah.
It was such a relief to have that direct, we're not just playing games.
Yeah.
We're here. We're serious. Do you want? And I was just like, well, I guess that answered that question. He's in it.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So how long have you been married now?
This will be 10 years this August.
Woohoo.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Dun, dun, dun. How long?
It'll be 22 years
All right.
Yeah. This.
the end of July.
Yeah. So
Nice.
in 1 month, it'll be 22 years. Okay.
Yeah, the end of July. So we're like a month after end of August.
Yeah, July 31st, the very last day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of marriage, do you feel that you had a healthy role model or healthy demonstrations in your life of a healthy marriage? And if so, where did that come from?
So for me, my parents, they were never married. I'll just leave it at that. They remarried, so then our families were blended, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So a healthy marriage, my grandparents is who I would say was a healthy marriage. I think they were married when my papa died, like I think it was in the 50 years maybe. I might have that wrong, maybe 55, but they were married for a long time. So if I ever wanted a lot of marriage advice, or if things have gone on between us, I go back to my grandma, so I will get advice from. So, what about you?
I would say I did, yes, with my parents. They've been married since, I think, 1989. I feel like they always complimented each other pretty well. They were hard workers. They put me through private school growing up. I never did without, and I always felt like they always had a pretty strong marriage. So.
That's great.
My turn.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. I mean, when you mentioned grandma and grandpa, I did have a grandma and grandpa that had, I would assume, a pretty healthy marriage, but it wasn't. I didn't recognize that at all.
Yeah.
Didn't dwell on that, but I mean, with my family, we had 5 divorces between the two, and, so not much there.
Yeah, me either. If I were to think of, did I see a healthy marriage? I think the best example I saw was my grandparents on my dad's side or my stepdad's side. I didn't know my biological father or his family really, but they weren't together anyway. And then my parents, no, and they got divorced and then remarried, and it still wasn't it was as good as they could do, but it was not a healthy demonstration for me to follow. And then I even think of like people I knew, like, parents of friends and everything. And nobody stands out as being like, wow, that's
Yeah.
a good marriage. I saw a lot of struggle, which I think is part of it.
Everybody, yeah.
But yeah, I just don't think I saw or recognized if it was there. Like he said, anything that stands out to me as I want to do it that way. It was just a lot of divorce, a lot of pain, a lot of griping about each other. And I knew I didn't want that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel that.
so we're going to look at both sides of marriage here. What would you say is an unexpected blessing to being married? So we all know the blessings we're all anticipating about being married, right? There's the obvious things of joining together with your spouse. But what would you think was an unexpected blessing for you about marriage?
I said that, okay, so I'll say that for me, it's having somebody who really, and this isn't like a cliche, but really does know every single thing about you and every part of you and still chooses you. I think that's something I kind of knew it, but I didn't realize it until you're in it, that's what it was going to be. And I think also that I expected the love, right? Because you're getting married. So on our wedding day, I expected us to love each other. But I didn't expect the friendship to be like what it is. So I think that was kind of a blessing I didn't really get. And he's always, like in my corner. So like the loyalty is a big deal to me. So like having him in my corner, he's my loyal partner. I think that was, I think you know it, but you don't really get it until you're in it. And then it's a bigger deal.
We do have such an innate need to be seen and known. And yeah, that is a part of marriage that is a blessing, is to have an earthly representation of someone who really sees you and knows you as much as a person can, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Case?
I would say probably just the fact of having this best friend. I get the the jokes of the old ball and chain sort of thing. I still make jokes like that, but it is she is my best friend, and just the fact that for the most part I pretty much enjoy being with her all the time. I look forward to my days off, and just always having somebody there to essentially just do your life with. So.
More like a ride or die than a ball and chain.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And I like the, now in this day and age, it's like you send each other reels and stuff. So like, I think it's funny that it can get annoying because sometimes he'll be like, I can't keep up with all the reels that you send me in a day. And I'm like, well, I thought about you every time I saw one of those stupid reels. And it is like, who do you think of the first person when you see something funny? Or like, who do you want to share it with? And it is, I do. I want to share it with Casey. When something goes on, like our power, and this isn't like a damsel in distress, but it's just like I want to work through the problem with him. So like our power went out for maybe 5 minutes, and me and the kids were all like, "Oh, we got to call Dad."
Yeah, he's like your phone a friend always.
Yes,
yeah,
it is just like, all right,
Same.
call Casey. I don't know, but in reality, I do know. Get the flashlights out, whatever. But it just to work through the problem with somebody, I think, is also a blessing.
I'm grateful that he's the boss at work because
Yeah.
I call him all the time. Yeah, that's great.
What about you guys? What's a blessing? Unexpected
I
blessing.
would say having a person be what feels like home. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter where we've lived or where we go or if we go on vacation or if, we're in the hospital or whatever. If he's with me, then I feel like it's home.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
like that.
that's-
Yeah.
That was something I wasn't expecting.
As a joke part of it is the closet fairy. Where you can just throw stuff in the closet, dirty clothes, and then all of a sudden they get hung up the next day.
Yeah.
All clean. No, but seriously, it would be new experiences, like even from food. We grew up in Sheboygan with a lot of bland food, and and in that and like antiquing and stuff like that. Just making myself interested in things that she's interested in seeing that
Yeah.
would not be.
I
you would never have
expand
that.
his horizons.
Yes. Yeah. Iron really does sharpen iron.
And that probably points to the flip side of that question is then what has been an unanticipated struggle. So, joining two lives together, you're going to, to anticipate some fights or some, whose furniture are we putting where, who's going to decide the color of the walls or whatever. But what has been an unanticipated struggle?
We talked about this a little bit before we got here too, that for me it was blending families. We didn't have kids going into this, but what I meant by that was like in-laws. And my in-laws are great. It's the extended families outside of that. So like for us, what was a struggle? When I think of what was a struggle, I'm thinking back to what did we fight about early on? And it was like my siblings, my mom, not to air out all of our dirty laundry, but it was like, who do we give money to when they're asking? Do we have money to give to anybody? And
And like what role
Yes.
those tertiary people are
people
going to
wanting
play
to
in
live
this.
in our house. Yeah. And me being like, well, we're just supposed to open up our home. And him being like, well, no, this is like our home,
Yeah.
And so I had siblings that lived with us, and, that was hard. I think that was for us when we fought, it was like trying to understand the siblings. Like, if one sibling doesn't like the other one, what does that mean? How do we navigate that? Because we've struggled with that too, that, yeah, I think early on that was where we struggled the most was this. And like for me, it was my mom put a lot of pressure on me of like, I'm still her daughter. And I think she had a little bit more control than she should have had. And he was like, well, we can't keep just like giving money. And then she would get mad at me and she would go off on me, and then I would go off on him. And so it was like, that was really hard to figure out what's the balance here. And he's like, I remember him saying like, I'm not saying we can't help your mom, but we need to have like boundaries in place. We don't have money to just be throwing at them. We're a brand new married couple. And I don't think
Makes
my
sense.
stepdad listens, but if he does, he'll be ticked off I shared that, but whatever. That was a real struggle for us to navigate. That was hard.
Yeah, I would say that not necessarily that it was unanticipated, because I say like finances are such a big thing in marriage, but like just the difference of viewpoints coming into it. I was a lot more frugal than she was, but I think after 10 years of doing this, we're getting in a pretty healthy balance right now of, I'm a little less frugal and she's a little bit less like free spending, if that makes sense. So it's it's a very good, like, even keeled thing right now, I think.
Yeah.
And I think going into it, I knew it could be a struggle, but I didn't realize how much of a struggle that it could be.
Or like what all parts of your life it would impact, the struggle would impact. Yeah. Sure. We actually ended up with the same answer. I compared them before we got in here and I was like, wow, we have the same answer. I think, oh no, we don't. Not this one. Sorry. We have the same answer on a different question. I think an unanticipated struggle for me was merging our past traumas, like just the things we both went through that we didn't know. Like we thought when we first got married that like, you know, we're new creatures in Christ. We met in church, you know, this is our identity. And we did really well for the first year, maybe, just kind of pushing through on that until things started to happen in our life. And then some of those coping mechanisms we had learned that we thought were just part of our personalities started coming out. And I didn't realize how hard that was going to be to merge who we were as far as what we had endured, merging that together.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out how to move forward. We're still figuring it out. So, but we're doing it together.
I would have to say talking about feelings and sharing feelings, and it's still very hard to do that and let us shove them down.
Yeah. That's part of it though, right? Like the coping mechanism is trying to like realize what part of your coping mechanisms are healthy and what are not, and most of them are not. And then how that impacts not just you, but other people now.
Yeah. And how to fight. I wish somebody would have explained you're going to fight. You can't stop that. But how do you fight? Like, what's a healthy fight, you know?
Yeah.
Because for me, my mom and my stepdad, they would argue, right? And like my mom would say crazy things. And so I think when we first got together, I kind of did that for a second. And then I had my aunt, shout out to my Aunt Renee, who I love. She told me that her and her husband don't call each other out of names. Like, she's like, I never, you know, call him another name. Like, I don't cuss him out. And she's like, the minute you start that, you start to, I forget the word, but it's basically like you just start to tear him down and you can't get that back up. Like, so that's one thing that I wish somebody would have taught us how to fight healthy. And she did, because eventually I talked to her about stuff and she told me that. And now we don't do that. We never call each other out of our name like that in a fight, and we don't cuss and scream at each other. That doesn't happen. But I think when we first got married, I went that route of like fight dirty for a second, you know, which was not good.
I do think
remember that?
conflict resolution
No? Okay.
would be a great skill.
Yeah.
You know, learn how to disagree with someone and find a, you know, common ground
Yeah.
without having to cut somebody down like
Yeah.
that. So I guess that lends to the next question. What advice do you wish you were given prior to getting married?
Oh, yeah.
Is that yours?
No, that was just in this moment that I talked about that. My advice, I said, I wish somebody also would have explained to me that, like, the most intimate moments that we were going to have were not from just sex. Like, that intimacy comes from being, like, really vulnerable. Like, for instance, the most intimate moments for us were when we first started praying together, because you guys met in church. We found faith together. And so praying together, that's so intimate. If you don't do that the first time you do it, it's kind of awkward. And then having the twins. And I mean, if you've ever had kids, which you have, you're an absolute mess. You're in an actual diaper. And I couldn't take a shower by myself. So like he's having to help me take a shower. And like, that's not sexual, but that's so vulnerable and that's so intimate. And like, if I think of like the most intimate moments or if I get emotional about Casey, it's remembering like him holding me when my mom died. Like it's him like putting me back together when I couldn't get off the floor. Like those are where like the sex part is like, you're just married and that's that you love whatever. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna stop talking. But like, it's the intimacy. I thought intimacy was sex. Is what I'm trying to say. And I wish I would have understood how much more I was going to love him and how much more vulnerable things were going to get.
Yeah.
'Cause
I
Yeah.
wish so many people understood that it's just a fraction
Right.
of it, and the whole picture is so much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it's a necessary part of it.
Right.
It's a very important part of it.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 do recommend, but it's not all of it, right?
Yeah.
What about you?
I would say mainly it's the emotions that come to getting married. Like on your wedding day, I guess I wasn't expecting to get emotional because I'm primarily like a quiet guy, and I try not to show emotion. But
Really?
yeah, you just can't help it sometimes. Like on a wedding day like that. And everything else, I mean, like, the fights that you get into, like how mad you can get or how sad you can get, and how much you, I guess, like, care for the other person. So, like, when she's hurting, I'm hurting, and I'm assuming it's the other way around, but I don't know. But I would just say mainly the emotions, that, and, when the kids come, and that's, it can make you emotional. So.
Yeah.
I believe this was the one that we have the
Yeah.
same, right? And then I like what she said, though, is like, and I know from Aaron Cox has told me about, like, those arguments and how to handle arguments, and don't get loud. It's a discussion. Let's walk through it. And it's hard sometimes, though, to not get passionate and get, make it feel like a personal attack based on past traumas. And so that's what I believe is that dealing with your past traumas before you get into a marriage to help stop the triggers that set you off.
Yeah, it's like, it's hard to, I mean, we both put like sort the past out first, but I feel like that's so hard to say because you're so ignorant to how much the past is informing your present when you're young.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you feel like it's over. And now you're your own self and you're not a kid anymore. But I do wish I had more emphasis on, hey, before you guys join forces, sort out all that stuff and talk to someone, or who would have even been there to talk to. I don't even know. But if there's any way that you can sort some of that out, or at least identify it, lay it all out, so that you could be like, okay, together, be like, okay, that thing that you've seen done, that's going to be a deal breaker. We don't do that, or back and forth, so that we would have a little bit more common ground when it hits the fan, because it will for everybody. So yeah, but I'm glad to have a partner, and I think we were both committed to it. We were just going to be in it, especially marrying in the church and having divorce on both of our sides. And I had been divorced from a teenage marriage. So just knowing the impact of all that and how hard it is and yucky, just deciding that it was not going to be an option, and that whatever we were faced, we would have to face together and find a solution or be miserable together.
Yeah, that's kind of what we said too. I have friends who, when they fight, they threaten divorce, and we've never said it. It's never been a conversation. We don't leave. We take pauses, right? You take a break and come back to the argument, but we don't storm off and leave, and we don't say that we're going to get a divorce. It's kind of,
yeah, and I'm not divorce shaming anyone.
No, I'm
because
not either.
I
Just
totally,
for us.
yeah. I mean, I just wanted to say that because, like I said, I am divorced, and it doesn't always take two to get divorced.
True.
Sometimes
You can't.
someone just
Somebody
goes
leaves,
away.
You can't help it. Yeah.
So, but yeah. So how does being married help shape who you are as a person?
You want to go first?
Sure. I guess the easy answer would just be that, Jackie helped bring me back to my faith in general. I grew up as a Christian, and the older I got, I kind of put it like, not put it on the back burner, but I did. And once we got together, we talked about it for a few years about going back to church and getting back into it. But then once we had the kids, we wanted to make that a priority. We tried some places out, and she actually picked coming here, and it ended up working out great for us.
So for me, he makes me calmer. So when something happens, my emotions tend to go to 100 really quick. And my reaction is most of the time anger. And I can talk through it with him. So like if a confrontation happens or something goes on, I want to just spiral off. And I'm able to talk to him about it and be like, these are my emotions. This is what I'm feeling. And he like rides that crazy train with me until it's fully complete, which I don't know if I tell you how much I appreciate that. But I can talk through it to death with him. Like he just keeps listening. I don't know if you check out. I don't know what happens, but you just sit there and you let me.
You may never tell.
Yeah. I just go and go and go. But then you give me feedback. And then he'll tell me, like, honestly, yeah, you're misinterpreting how that happened. I don't think anybody was out to get you. Or he'll be like, no, yeah, they were wrong. Go out, say what you got to say, your piece, So that helps. I feel like he makes me calmer. And yeah, I think that's how I'd answer that, is the calmer.
I would say it helps shape you into Christ-like, because of the love that we need to show to our wives, and you keep coming back to that. Love your wives, and as Christ did.
Yeah. I thought of it like two ways. I thought of it like it can be like a fire, like a refining fire, like to be forced to be so vulnerable and raw with someone. They're going to see through whatever mask you're putting on. They're going to see you at your highs and your lows and everything in between. You're not going to be able to keep up the facade if you have one, which we all do at some point. And so it's like, it's going to turn that heat up, because they're not going to put up with some of those things, and they're going to call you out on them. And that's not pleasant. Right. It's not part of what you're signing up for, like what you think you're signing up for. You think you're going to be validated. This person just loves me, and they're going to always affirm me and tell me how great I am. They're so lucky to have me, which is true. Still true. But there's going to be moments where they're going to just call you out on your garbage, and they're going to see through everything. And to be able to see somebody in their worst moments and what they get wrong and still cheer them on and still want the best for them publicly or whatever, that's amazing. Yeah. That's like God, But I also think being married is kind of like a mirror, because in that same way, it shows you who you really are, because you can't keep up that facade all the time. And then I threw a Bible verse in there. Luke 6:45 says, a good man brings forth good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart, for the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. I feel like your spouse is like that shaking up to see what comes out of you. And if when you're shook up either by them agitating you or them just reflecting what's your own agitations or whatever's inside of you is going to come out, and they help shake that tree and reveal what's actually in there. Because you might be like, oh, it's all good stuff. Look at the outside, but they help shake you up, and what's really in there comes out, and it's not always the good stuff. And so it's like,
yeah, it really shows how horrible a person you can be.
Yeah.
And the stuff that you have to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So just in the area of faith, how do you feel like being married has affected your faith journey? You guys talked about finding faith again together. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think it affects us now how we raise the kids. So, and what I like about having faith together is having somebody to talk to about it. Like, read a story. I mean, today he read a story in the Bible and was telling me about it, and we were talking about it, and we dive deeper into it, more. And I like that. I like that we read it and we both kind of come out thinking typically the same thoughts on it. I think it makes us it makes you be like selfless. It helps make us put each other first. And I think the way that we've structured the home is, like Jesus, our marriage, and the kids, which sometimes I've heard people don't, whatever, I'll leave that. So, and it's not saying that the kids aren't important when I say that either, but it just means that, like, because of our faith, we make our marriage a priority. And I like to say that, we put on the life jacket before we're drowning. So, we're praying through things together. We're praying for each other. I like that, before he goes to work, he knows that I'm praying for him. I know that if I tell him I need help with something, he's praying for me. I think if you don't have faith in your marriage, that would be really hard. I don't even really know what that would look like, because we're both chasing Jesus and we're trying to be like Jesus. So then we're trying to love each other like Jesus, and then we're trying to love our kids like Jesus. So there's just this perfect example of who we're supposed to be that we're running after, but we're running after him together.
Yeah.
And then we've got the kids running with us kind of imagery.
I love that metaphor I've heard before, where like you tell a teenager, don't go looking for a spouse. It's hard not to, because hormones.
Yeah.
But, it's like, run hard after Jesus. And if you happen to notice, like, look to your side and someone else is keeping up, introduce yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
But otherwise, run hard after Jesus. And I'm obviously, you guys are an example of, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you find each other first, but I'm so grateful that you guys were able to find faith together, because sometimes that separates people when one comes to faith and the other doesn't.
I am too. I'm glad that it meshed well, but I wish we would have had it before too. Like, looking back, hindsight's 20/20, but I can definitely see the cracks in our relationship and things that were harder, that didn't need to be harder. Like a moment to tell any teens that are listening to this: don't have sex before marriage. It gets real messy. Like, just wait until there's a reason God puts things in an order, and that order matters. And I wish that we would have had it beforehand. So, like, now with the twins, I really hope that they stay in that and find, So for me, I guess that answers that. But
I would say, I don't think it's anything, it's not too obvious, but she's a lot more outgoing than me. So I guess that, like, in our faith journey, like, coming here, I told her, like, why don't we just ease into this? We'll go to church and that'd be it. Before I knew it, we knew who the pastor was, and we were meeting with them, and we were joining small groups and all this that I've never been a part of. But I go along with it because even though I sometimes don't want to do it, I know in the long run it's probably for the best, and that it's worked out pretty well so far.
You've met amazing people.
Yeah, that's true.
You wouldn't have been on a podcast if I didn't.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's that, just, being married, she's a lot more outgoing, like I said, and just kind of forcing me to do things that I don't necessarily want to do, but that I know I should. So.
Yeah.
And that works well for us too, because he's just quieter, right? So I feel like I kind of pull him out of that, but he pulls me down. I always say yes to everything, and then all of a sudden I'm drowning. I'm like, and then I'll be a grump to him, and he's like, well, because you said yes to a whole bunch of stuff that you shouldn't have said yes to. Like, chill for a second. Like, think it through for like 24 hours before you say yes to doing something. So it's good that it just kind of helps balance each other.
When I was thinking about how does being married affect my faith, I thought of it like an anchor at times, because there's, when you're wrestling with doubt and thinking, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. having somebody else in your life that is co-committed with you and with faith kind of helps talk you down.
Right.
You know, like, okay, maybe you need a nap and a snack, you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
calm down. But then there's also that element of it being, you know, if you've heard the term, you should be equally yoked. I've heard some people think that's YOLK, like egg yolk. No, it is YOKE, like what they put on two ox to keep them, you know, hooked together to pull something and accomplish a task together. That's that kind of yoke. And when they say you should be equally yoked, what would happen if you have a really, really weak, sick, you know, ox yoked together with a real strong, forceful ox? How is that going to look? They're going to go off. The stronger one's going to be dragging the other one in a circle. They're not going to be able to go straight. So you want as equally yoked as possible because you're going to accomplish the best. So you're kind of like going to go at the pace of the,
Right.
you know, the weaker vessel or whatever. And so there's an element of good in marriage with your faith being like an anchor, because it'll help ground you and have someone a resource to help pull each other out of whatever doubt or wrestling. It's also a lifeline in that way, because then you have somebody to pray with when you're really doubting and struggling, and there's just somebody always going to the throne for you, or should be. But that equally yoked concept, like, as the faith journey develops, you could start off pretty equally yoked, but as your spiritual disciplines develop and stuff, sometimes one person is starting to get more strong and one person is kind of taking a back seat, and that can be a struggle, because now you're yoked together with someone and you feel like you're not advancing. Now you're just kind of drifting, and so you got to kind of help pull each other back and beef each other up so that
Right.
you're staying lockstep.
Excuse me. I actually can take it the other way sometimes, where it can take away dedication to your faith, to what you want to do, because you are divided between like wanting to do all of God's stuff and follow, you know, do a bunch of stuff, but then having the responsibilities of children and the wife and the job, and making sure you're financially, you know, supportive, and it kind of can take away from that. But it also helps to understand God's love in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, whether, you know, even from your wife and your children when you have children.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because for me, I didn't understand God's love until I had kids.
Yeah.
I would have really argued the point that I thought it wasn't unconditional, that it's conditional, because you do have to accept Jesus, and that's like a play on words. But it is true that there is, especially with the kids, there's nothing that they could do that I wouldn't stop loving them, you know? So yeah, I think that I like that you said that.
Yeah, I remember before we got married, you were able to be involved in a lot of different aspects of the church we were in. And then, yeah, after we got married and had an instant family, because I already had two, it was instantly hard to find that balance of, well, I can't neglect them at home and can't always bring them with to all of this stuff. And what's that right balance? I guess there's no prescription for that. Every
Right.
family's got to work that out for themselves. And it is going to probably change as different seasons of life go. But yeah, that's a good point. The Bible says that, you know, yes, when you find a wife, you find a good thing, but it also says, like, it invites the cares of this world into your life.
Yeah.
So what is something you wish young people today understood about marriage?
I think I would tell them that it's not the butterflies. So, like, yes, you have those, right? You get the butterflies. Oh, they text me back, and the dopamine hits, right? It's so intense when it first fall in love, and when you get married, you think that you are just the most in love with this person that you can ever be, and I don't think that that is. I think that that's beautiful and that you need that, but I think love is a choice. I think you end up having to choose to honor this commitment. You choose to love them, and you choose that in the really hard moments. And I think if I could say anything, I would say it's easy to find someone to laugh with. It's easy to find someone to have joy with, but you need to find somebody that you can suffer with, and that your looks are going to change. Things are going to sag. Things are going to be different one day. Like, find someone that you mentally are, like, you love their mind, you do need to be attracted to somebody too. But I think that ultimately, like, you need to have somebody that when it's really, really bad, that you know that they're there, because like I said before, the most in love I grew and fell more in love with Casey in the hardest moments of our marriage than I did on the day we got married. It doesn't even compare. It's night and day.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess I would just say that I feel like your spouse should probably be like your best friend in a sort of way. You can have your other like guy best friends or whatever, but like she should be, or your spouse should just be your best friend, someone that you can rely on and like trust fully. That at the end of the day they're always going to be there for you, and you be there for them the exact same way.
One is it's a covenant with God, right? And then also it's like a fire, that marriage, that love, that connection, and you can't just not tend to it. A fire takes a lot. It's not even just throwing more logs on it. You got to move it around. You got to clean it out. You got to, there's a lot of work to it.
Yeah. If I was to try to explain to young people, I feel like I would want to just rip the, like, whatever, the veil off of it and say, there's no such thing as happily ever after. Mm-hmm. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing as finding your soulmate.
Yeah.
I would say don't look at this Pinterest image of marriage as the happily ever after end of the story. That's how it gets marketed to, especially girls, I would say, in like our princess stories and whatever. Like, you go through things in life and then, at the end, your prince comes and you get married. And like, once you bagged them, it's all smooth sailing. And it's like, that's the beginning of the story. That's not the end of the book. That's the very beginning. You are now launching into creating soulmate together. Mm-hmm. You don't go and find your soulmate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whatever version of a person you're going to find is just the real rough draft. You guys are going to work together and edit each other for the rest of your life. And so it's like, it's not, this happily ever after fairy tale thing is not real.
Yeah.
And don't go looking for that. And by the way, you're not the princess you think you are.
Yeah.
And he ain't no prince. Like, that's just not real.
Yeah.
But it can still be beautiful, and you can still write a great story together. And God's going to do most of that writing, and you're just kind of along for the horrible ride. But you're both together.
You guys sound very happy.
That's if you don't like roller coasters.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There's some of us who are like this, and others are like, woo!
That's true. Yeah. It's funny.
Right. What other thoughts do you have on this topic? Like, if just explore that more. Like, we only have so much more time, but what's important to you to talk about marriage?
Anything that we didn't talk about. I think I just would really. I think the biggest thing I've realized is I've already talked about it so much, but it was that I thought I loved him the most when we got married, and I didn't think that I could love him anymore. I remember thinking, I kind of that
he
this
was your prince.
Yeah, I think I had that idea that this was just going to be smooth sailing after that, because we had dated for 3 years too, so we were with each other for a while, but not we lived together. But anyways, I would really hone in on that. When you suffer with somebody, is when you figure out who they are. And I'm so glad that I married somebody that didn't like berate me with, everybody gets, because everybody has kids, but that was really hard for me. And he never once was like, millions of women out there have babies and they're able to handle this. Like, that wasn't something he said. So he just loved me through that postpartum. And I would call him, just saying, I can't do this. I remember crying, telling him, I'm sorry I forced you to have kids. Like, I was so deep in postpartum, and he'd be on the road going to a domestic call, needing to focus and being like, hold on, I got to call you back. Go to this, call, mentally handle whatever adrenaline that was, call me back and be like, you are a good mom. You're meant for this. Like, we can get through this. Like, and I'm so thankful that he wasn't this like jerk that was just like, stop calling me. I'm at work, and he could have said, stop calling me. I'm at work. And So I think don't get so caught up in I need to get married because you think that that's what you need to do right then and there. Like, figure out who that person is, figure out who you are, and not to be doomsday, but you got to figure out if you can suffer with that person, because if you can't, you're in for a mess because you're going to suffer.
Yeah, that movie line, "You complete me," or whatever. That's hot garbage.
No, it's not true. No.
You can't go looking for the rest of you and someone else. Yes,
Yeah.
to become one, and then you start to feel like they're the rest of you, right? But you can't go looking for somebody to fill in the cracks.
Yeah.
Only God can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess to kind of go off what he said, that it is a covenant with God, and it's like you got to take it serious, and you can't. I get divorces happen and stuff like that, but it feels like so many people now like kind of throw that term out, like, or that threat of like, well, I'm gonna leave you, or we're gonna get divorced, or I'm gonna divorce you, blah blah blah. We've never done that, and I think that, like she said, I think like it's never even been like an option for us. I mean, like, it's not something that we play around with. We don't threaten it with one another. And it's like it's serious, but you have, you get to be their best friend all the time, and you get to, have a life with them. So.
Yeah.
One thing I like is there's a story that I know is, a real life guy that he was struggling in his marriage, and they were just at the brink of, they weren't sleeping together, or they were further apart, and he was started to pray about it, and God told him on the way home to buy flowers and ice cream, and he's like, I'm not buying her flowers and ice cream. Like, we're not on good terms. Like, how do we fix this? He's like, just buy her flowers. So he actually did that, and that started the marriage back up, and it flourished after that. And in that is like, just put your trust in God, in the covenant, and that's the same thing with the fire. Feed that fire and just keep working through it. And when you have those hard times, just love on them, love on your spouse.
I must be big into metaphors lately because I'm like, it's like a fire. No, it's like a mirror. No, it's an anchor.
Jesus talks in metaphors, so you're good.
Okay, cool. I think of it like a ship, and I've actually used this metaphor with my kids a lot, like for trying to get things done in the day, but I think of it like going on a voyage in a ship, in a boat. And when you get married, that's like the anchors away moment where, you pull up the anchor and you're going to set off together, and you're sailing together in this boat. And, there's a lot of work to keep it going in one direction and not just aimlessly. Someone's got to steer. I'm not even going to get into who that should be, but someone's got to. And then there's like sails that need to be tended and masts, and I don't know anything about sailing, but I assume you got to work together, and there has to be good communication for that to happen.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be clearly communicating in order for both parts to be working well, and switch jobs maybe at times, or whatever that looks like. Eventually there's other crewmates, like kids, and that just amplifies the need for clear communication and delegation and everything to work well, because the goal is that you guys get to your destination, and that there's going to be storms at sea. There are actual sea monsters. It's not going to all be smooth sailing, but there are times of calm waters and beauty and restful ports and all of that stuff. But it is like an arduous journey to be on this boat together. And it's just, despite the challenges, it's still a worthy voyage. It's still worth it. You don't want to jump ship.
Yeah. I like that metaphor.
So that's how I
good.
always picture it.
Yeah. And I also, you said the smooth sailing stuff, and I feel like we've talked a lot about, how hard it can be too. So, but it's also, it's so fun to be out with Casey and somebody do something weird right? Something just off the wall, or at a family event and a cousin says something absurd. And it just takes like a glance of us just like eye contact. And then I know for sure we are going to have all kinds of roasts when we get into the car. And it's not just me. He's going to lay into things like that's also so fun to, or to like tell each other jokes. Like, you know, we say, I won't go into them, but like there's dirty jokes we'll tell each other. Like that's funny. Or like say things that nobody else gets that only him and I get. It's like you have like another language with your spouse too. Like that is a fun part of it. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So that's, I think, another thing I would say is that this journey, this voyage, it's worth it. And the hard times are there, but the fun times I feel like are so amplified that makes it, I think, even better too.
I do want to say I was so nervous to have this episode.
Yeah.
Not because it's not important, because it so is. I wish I would have been able to listen. I wish there was a podcast 22 years ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing yet. But obviously we're doing it. But the reason I was nervous was two things. One, you tend to get attacked when you stick your neck out, you know, to do something in ministry. And so, and we've done like marriage Bible studies with people and things before, and then it always stirs something up and it's like, super, why weren't we doing it on something else? But also I feel like even if you never say, hi, my name is Amanda and I have a perfect marriage and I want to teach you about how to have a great marriage. Just publicly speaking like this about a topic like this kind of gives people that inference that you're trying to say, I'm talking about this because I do it very well.
No,
and
that's not it.
That couldn't be farther from the truth.
No.
We have struggles. We've had major struggles. It's a miracle we're still together, especially given all that we've said and all that we saw growing up and all the things we've shared. There's been so much more we haven't shared, might not ever publicly, but I just want to do that disclaimer that we're not just by having this raw conversation is not us saying, oh, we did it perfect, do it like us. Obviously that's not true. And so I was really nervous to be coming from that place of like, yeah, we haven't always done this really well. And we're, you know, still learning how to do this even after so many years, which is humbling.
Yeah.
To, you know, feel like, hey, I want to be in ministry and I've been a Christian a long time. And I still have never really seen this done well. And so I kind of wanted to like sit on this and not do this episode. But then when you asked if we could, I thought, I'm probably not the only one in this situation who feels a little inadequate and a little embarrassed that they're not farther along or doing this better. And so, let's have the conversation. Let's get that ball rolling. There's so many conversations like this that I don't think we talk about as openly as we should as a body of believers. And I know it's like, what are you going to raise your hand on Sunday morning and stand up and interrupt the pastor and be like, let's talk about marriage troubles. No, that's not the context.
And I think it's also, even in a small group setting, it can be hard because if we're going through something, there's so much context to it. There's understanding who he is as a person, what he brings to the marriage, what I bring to the marriage. And it's hard in those settings to just say, okay, this is what we're struggling with and like dive into it.
Yeah.
You don't want to air all your dirty laundry. Yeah.
Like we talk together, but how often are we even able to get together?
Right.
And then you have the kids around. It's like, how often, like you guys, how often do you have deep heart to hearts with other men? Like you said, having kids and responsibilities and whatever, it's just really hard to carve out that time to have that real personal. But it's necessary that we hear these things, that we don't all assume everybody sitting next to us at church is doing it great and they have it all down. They don't.
No, and marriage is hard. And I think you're right that it would be better if more people talked about it, but it's hard to get to talk about it.
Right. You don't lead with that.
Yeah.
That's awkward for everybody.
Yeah.
But,
you can't say, hey, how are you doing on Sunday morning? And be like, well, actually, as you're walking by me, this is my problem. You know,
we tend to meet people, especially in a setting like church, right? And you see like this older couple that have been married for 40 years or whatever, and you think that it's been peaches and cream for them.
Right.
And then I tend to be pretty direct. So when I do get a chance to have one-on-one conversations with people, I have asked some of those questions and they'll tell me oh yeah, when we went through this struggle or that struggle or this season or this dry time or whatever. And it is so wonderful to be like, you guys?
Right.
Oh, in my mind's eye, you guys have been knocking it out of the park and it was a happily ever after for you. No, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that disclaimer. No, we don't do this excellent all the time, but I do think it's such a worthy conversation, and I would love for people to feel free to comment on whatever platform that we're having. Tell us. I mean, don't air out all your stuff, but unless you want to. But share, like, is that true? Do you find that true? Do you wish people were talking about these kind of things more and being more vulnerable? Or do you wish there was more outlets for vulnerability and realness in church?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good.
All right. We're going to bring it to a close. Do you have a memorable nugget of wisdom from the well that you would like to sum up for the listeners?
For husbands out there, just husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
I said, protect your marriage long before it's in trouble.
I would say that your spouse should be your best friend, and you should treat them as such.
I just put, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It really is. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here and doing this. That brings us to the end of today's episode. We're truly grateful you chose to spend this time with us here at Wisdom at the Well. Our prayer is that you leave this conversation feeling blessed, challenged, and encouraged in your faith. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their time, stories, and wisdom. We invite you to join us next time as we continue gathering at the well, drawing from the source of living water. Until then, stay rooted in grace and grounded in His Word.